Welcome back to my channel, folks. I hope you're all having a good day. Our mission here, as you know, is to help 1 million people start a business of their own. Today, we have some fantastic entrepreneurs that are going to share their insights and story. And together, we're going to listen, hopefully learn, and hopefully as well, if you have something to contribute, feel free to throw a question or comment into the comment section. My team here will be monitoring those questions. We can throw them up on screen or even ask the question for you. So do engage. If there's anything you want from today's guests or you feel that you can support in any way, we'll be looking out for your comments. My first guest is Ben. In fact, both my guests today are called Ben. We didn't plan that. It's just the way life is sometimes. And Ben, number one.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Good to have you here. Welcome. Well, why don't we start off the podcast by you telling people listening your skill set, really, and what you know that others don't.
Sure. So I started my career as a web designer, building websites. I've been doing that for about 10, 11 years now. And I specialize in user experience design. So thinking about how people use websites, understanding the data behind that, and making decisions to make websites better, help people make more money on their websites, and that kind of thing, keeping people on the website. So I work full time, and I also have started running my own Shopify agency, helping businesses build their own e-commerce platforms and helping them understand the different nuances and different relationships that they may have with their customers.
Any quick tips off the top of your head around this? If people are thinking of building a website, I mean, let's say they can't afford you, or maybe they can, I don't know. But what are any obvious tips for people when they're thinking about building a website or building something where they want to keep people there, as you say?
I'd say the most important thing is understanding your customers, understanding the data as well. So the first thing is make sure that you're tracking what's going on your website using something like Google Analytics, and actually understanding how people are using your website. I think that's definitely is something that a lot of people maybe don't put enough emphasis on, and then they don't understand how their customers are using their website, or maybe where they're falling off and things like that. I think it can be really crucial for boosting sales online.
How did you get into this business, Ben?
Well, I did marketing at university, and I started working for a big agency, big shiny agency, working with clients like Costa and Pepsi. And I quickly discovered that working in marketing was not for me. And I saw the people around me that were working as developers and building these great websites. And it's just something I wanted to do. So I gave it a go. And I kind of kept on going from there, really. And that was, it was about 10 years ago now.
In my perverse way of thinking about it, it is marketing though, isn't it? UX in a way. It is helping people.
It definitely plays a role in it. It's I work very closely with marketing partners, because it's a big thing is measuring ROI and return on marketing investment. So it definitely is kind of a subset, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if not only do you if you spend a load of marketing and people get to your whatever it is, and then it's not usable or doesn't do the job, then not only are you wasting a lot of marketing dollars, but equally, I think that on the other side, it can generate marketing leads. It is sometimes the beginning of a lead generation system, right? So that in itself is marketing.
Exactly, yeah, and it also being able to understand your customers like that better also allows you to tailor your marketing to be more effective and understanding your customers better.
You mentioned Shopify there. Educate us a bit on that world.
Sure. So Shopify is a e-commerce platform. So e-commerce is selling anything online, physical goods or digital goods. And Shopify, it basically allows you to very easily set up your own online store and start taking payments. So it can go it's a massive platform. Companies like Gymshark, they are on Shopify. So all the way the kind of the range of customers that they have is massive, all the way from, you know, people just starting out, they're starting their first business, all the way to, you know, multi-billion pound companies.
Is there any, I mean, I guess a lot of people probably heard of Shopify. Probably they don't know how to leverage it. What you know? Do you think it's it's interesting? You mentioned Gymshark, for example. People's perception is that it would have their own website, right, and their own fulfillment and all of those things. Why would they need Shopify?
I think for companies like that, it comes down to scaling. So one thing that Shopify are great at is it takes away a lot of the complexity of building a website. So you don't have to worry about all of the servers. You don't have to worry about any of that. They take care of all that for you. If you have run some successful campaign and you end up getting 100,000 people on your website, then that's great. Then it will just automatically take care of it for you. Your website's not going to fall over, and it saves you having to spend a lot of money on expensive developers or maintain those technologies.
Well, drawing you into a discussion about the merits of Spotify, but of course, I think for a lot of people, maybe frankly, people that don't know the ins and outs, Shopify represents potentially a gap between you and the customer. In other words, Shopify could turn off the tap at any point, or control the ability for you to reach your customers through Shopify. And that is a bit of a fear, I think, for some people. That's why people have their own direct website relationships. What's your feeling on that? Is that a non-concern?
Sure. I think they both have their own merits. I think, especially for when you're starting out, something like Shopify is great because it allows you to get started and get moving quickly. You don't have to worry about hiring expensive developers. If you really wanted, you can kind of just click a couple buttons, choose a nice template that's already been made for you, and you can add your own images and you can get on your way. And then maybe, later down the line when things are, maybe a bit bigger, then you could think about moving away from it. But I think personally for me, it's excellent being able to leverage their technology and being able to kind of stand on the shoulder of the giants.
Do you see what about things like eBay and those sorts of platforms? Do you think that they are also worth leveraging, or do you think it's focused on one platform and make it work? What's your thinking and strategy on those sorts of things?
I think it's always good to diversify. I think a lot of companies now are using multiple sales channels, especially things like Amazon FBA and things like that allow you to kind of use other people's platforms as a marketing tool and sell elsewhere. I think it's great. And I also think that if one of these channels, something happens to it, then you've got other revenue to fall back on as well, which is down to diversification, and it definitely helps make your business a bit more kind of stable.
A lot of our audience actually ask us about Amazon FBA. Again, the thing that seems to come up is that people get caught out on having to drive traffic themselves to their platforms, which causes them, well, frankly, a lot of investment beyond just sourcing the product and building the site. Then they've actually got to get traffic to that site. One, is there a hack around that for helping people who are struggling with that? And two, is that the Achilles heel of the Amazon FBA model?
To be honest, I'm not too familiar. I'm not too familiar with Amazon and the ins and outs of working with it myself. Personally, I think it can be a good tool to use, but I also think that you need to. It depends on what business you're in. They can take a lot of your profit away from you if. With specific products, for example, I think it can be quite expensive, but I think it all depends on your business, and it's difficult to say kind of throughout for everybody.
Fair. So staying in your lane, I mean, so Shopify and UX design, these are the areas you focus in on, right?
Mm.
And do you think, well, how do people normally engage you? What's the process? Because I think a lot of people, again, that are thinking of building a website, I guess they think about it from a cosmetic perspective first, if you ask me. And then they think UX later, but they don't really understand it. So how does it normally work with you? How do you normally work?
So I've sort of been working on a process that I follow for all my clients, a 5-step process of how I do things. So it always starts with kind of identifying what the problems are, because every business, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how big you are, have problems. And so identifying those problems and identifying which problems that they want to solve. Then we go on to plan. We look at the data, and we try and figure out kind of what customer groups they're in, and if they haven't got them already, we start doing things like journey mapping and kind of user personas. So writing with what a user persona is understanding what does a typical customer for this business look like. So how old are they? Where do they shop? What do they like to do in their spare time? What mode of transport do they use? Do they drive a Mercedes, or do they want a Ford, or do they get the bus, or do they get the train? All sorts of things to try and understand and build a picture of what your ideal customer looks like. And then we go through journey mapping, which is understanding how does the customer get to the website? What do they do when they're on the website? And why are they maybe dropping off? Or how do they go through that flow between, first hearing about you to making a purchase? So we do lots of things like that. And then once we've kind of got a good idea of what we're doing, then it then goes on to more planning the technical aspects and technical side of things. So do they want to be able to edit things themselves, or do they want a hands-off approach? And there's something called it's headless Shopify, it's called. So what Shopify have recently allowed you to do is you can actually build your own front end of the website and just use their back end. So which is great, because it means you get all the control, but then also you don't have to worry about the technical bits behind the scenes. And I think for a lot of companies, that's the future, because it's much quicker and it's a lot more flexible for businesses. So that's kind of the approach that I take anyway, is doing that and going through the development process and the launch process after that.
Someone's just asking, John Wright just asked, do you have to have a certain set of skills to have a Shopify business? Do you think there is a particular thing you need?
Absolutely not. No, I think anybody can set up a Shopify store. You can just use one of their pre-made themes. They're great. It has everything you need pretty much built in. Obviously, if you're doing things more technically, if you're doing something that maybe hasn't been done before, like building a marketplace or something, then Shopify wouldn't probably be the best tool. But if you want to start a small business just selling products, then it's great. You can pretty much do it without touching a line of code.
What about people like us, podcast hosts and owners of communication channel chats? Do you think it's good for, say, a podcast? Have of course, assuming you can hear each other on podcasts, that's definitely key. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I just missed that bit. What did you say?
Oh, I was saying, I mean, do you think, podcasts, we always think about, selling merchandise. And if we were looking to sell, our merchandise, do you think setting up a Spotify shop is the way to go? Is that the right approach, do you think? I mean, there's 840,000 podcasts right now, so that would be a big market to tap into, wouldn't it?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, especially if you see a lot of people selling merch that is, something like Redbubble or or something like that, and they take horrendous fees, and you end up you don't make very much. I mean, if you wanted to have your own stock, and then it'd be great. I mean, you can also drop ship through Shopify, which is also really popular, quite a popular niche that, especially on TikTok, you see a lot of people talking about drop shipping. But yeah, I mean, Shopify would be absolutely perfect for something like that.
The drop shipping side is interesting. You do see it a lot on TikTok, and people do seem to pitch it as a, get a rich quick scheme a little bit. Like, you don't need to buy anything, and you're just a middleman. But is it as much of a, is it true? Is it a get rich quick, or is it? I'm a bit skeptical personally, but I might be wrong. What do you think?
I think a lot of people underestimate how much work it takes. I think there's a lot of people out there that are saying that you can, set up a Shopify store now and be a millionaire tomorrow, and things like that. And that's not the reality. It requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of, ad spend as well, which people, I don't think, realize, driving traffic to the store. But I mean, it does work. I know of people that do make a good living from doing it. But I think it is much harder nowadays than it used to be, maybe, 3 or 4 years ago.
It feels like to me that a lot of people who are selling courses on doing drop shipping are probably not.
They definitely make more.
Doing so well on the drop shipping, and probably are making money from selling courses on getting rich on drop shipping. So but I apologize to my listeners today, by the way. I'm having to record from home because of the lockdown, so my dogs are barking in the background. They don't understand this is a podcast, so forgive them, please. I hope they're not hurting your ears. But yeah, it definitely is an interesting one, and I think that's one of the things that I think all of this space, particularly Spotify. Because I'm apologizing to Spotify people that I've now got that in my head. But I think that the whole shopping experience generally is kind of being broken down into that you don't need any of your own product, and it's all so easy. But I guess you have a business today because it's not, right? It's definitely a skill.
Exactly. I mean, somebody once told me that the money that you make is directly correlated to the value that you would give somebody. So I think for me, and I really believe that, as far as I will want to work with people that bring value and they create value. If, it's not something that maybe I believe in is selling for selling's sake.
You mentioned earlier that you're not a big fan of marketing, and that's why you kind of made this, I guess, career change. But what do you how do you market yourself? How do people find out about you? How do you build your business?
I mean, honestly, this is something I'm struggling with at the moment. Just because I still work full time. I still have a full time job as well as running my business. So it's mostly been word of mouth at the moment. But I think I've been working on a strategy that I'm in the process of implementing. But I think social is great. Writing blogs, writing articles for organic search. That's it's super helpful doing that. It takes a long time, but it's definitely worth it for the long-term marketing strategy. And mostly just word of mouth and networking. So, making sure you go to networking meetups and trying to talk to other business owners and trying to get, I think the main thing, especially for services, is getting in front of the people that have the problem and, helping them solve that problem.
Well, I used to own a digital agency called Fluid, and what we used to do was see how awful people's digital presence was, and it's pretty obvious. I'm sure you must see that all the time. I'm sure going on websites these days is not fun for you. You're just permanently looking at what they're doing wrong.
It is, yeah. It happens a lot. You just see, that doesn't work, or you manage to break something by accident, and yes, I definitely tend to notice the things that are wrong with it, or something that may not necessarily is supposed to be there.
Worst website in the world. You're going to give us a shout out. What's the worst website in the world? HSBC might be up there for me. I don't know one, but
I was just on very.co.uk looking at fridge freezers today, and it was the most miserable experience I think I've ever dealt with, trying to find the information, and they just didn't understand the type of information that a user would want to see.
So there must be, because they're doing actually quite well. I think they must be marketing spend over usability. There must be some,
definitely, because
enough traffic you can push through anything. But it'd be interesting to look at their drop-off rate. That would be really interesting if the CEO of a Very is listening. We've got Ben here. You should listen to him. But I've noticed as well, like having worked with a lot of corporations, sometimes they don't know what they don't know, and often the IT department of these companies are just following models that were right 10 years ago, and they haven't refreshed their thinking. So someone like Gymshark is a good example of someone that's always refreshing their thinking. That's why they're doing so well, and that's why they're leveraging Shopify. Whereas I think a lot of people perhaps don't see that as a viable option. They see it as competition even, which is an interesting.
Exactly. I think especially for some of the bigger companies that I've worked with in the past, and you see the bureaucracy behind the scenes, and then it's just no wonder that companies like Gymshark that are just coming out of nowhere and dominating markets. It's because they are moving quickly and making smart decisions.
Totally, yeah. Well, stay with us, Ben. We've got another Ben joining us now who's got a business. He's going to tell us a little bit about it, and then we're going to try and help him. So please join. Hello, Ben number 2. Ben
Hi, guys.
Ormas.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Ben.
Hey.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Welcome. Well, maybe you could tell Ben, myself, and the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Definitely. So I've got this project called The Dots Will Connect. This will be a project for entrepreneurs who want to really stage their idea and to see really give them a framework of how they can get to from idea stage to MVP stage, and then to further down the line product market fit and all these fun bits. So I'm really just in an ideation phase as of now. My background is more in development. So I have been a software contractor for the last 3 years. I started off with I was doing apps. So I've developed iOS apps. I've developed websites as well. So I have more in that knowledge, and funny that I really love that Ben is in the Shopify space, because I was building a couple of Shopify stores as well, just to spin up my business knowledge. So I actually want to shift a bit more from the development side and going into more the marketing and the business world. So yeah,
You're like two passing ships then. Ben's going the other way. And you,
exactly.
Partners. Wow, this has suddenly turned into a business dating podcast.
Exactly.
How did that happen? But connecting the dots, is that? Tell us a little bit more about how that would actually work. What's your plan there, Ben?
Sure. So I have seen over my my career, and we see all these videos about the big entrepreneurs, and essentially they are kind of running off of a framework. And since I'm in the AI field as well, I've built trading bots, and I saw the patterns in the market. So I wanted to have this kind of pattern applied to entrepreneurs as well, where they can specifically see what do they need to do to validate an idea, to get to an MVP stage when they build it. When are they confident that idea would work, and then get funding. And so this is the high overarching idea. And so I just have an issue of breaking this down to really a small piece, and just to start kind of validating the idea a bit. So yeah.
What does validation look like? What do you think?
So I've been in the field, like I've had it where I built apps and just released it and thought, it's got whatever is going to happen, it's going to happen. So how I see validation is really targeting a niche or like a smaller bit of this whole project, and really validating that, and also validating that it can make money as well. So I need to get to that stage, and like I have like a ton of ideas in my mind, but just to narrow it down, it's tough right now. So
fair enough. Is there anything we can help you with today in particular? I know that's part of the reason we're here, is to try and help you. So what do you need?
Definitely. So I wanted to ask, where would you start to start this validation process, and where would you suggest I take how many paths I should take, how long shall I do these validations, and where should be the right which should be the right way I should process, because this seems like a huge project now. So
yeah, it's quite a broad question. Of course, a lot of factors would play into the answer, like how much funding you've got, how much resources you've got. I mean, personally, on a simple level, what comes to mind is, can you build 1 or 2 case studies to prove them?
Okay.
That does a couple of things. I think it gives you ammo for future clients to show what you've done. And then also, if investment or that was on your horizon at any point in the future, then you could also show to the investor, hey, look, I invested X in this client, and then this was the result, and and that validate, I guess, the investment thesis around the business being a viable business that the public or your potential customer needs. So those are the things to spring to mind. I mean, I don't know whether you have any of that yet, or if you have a proof of concept in any way.
No, so how I wanted to build it out and gather some interest is to break down, successful people's lives, how they started off, what was their validation process. Even because eventually the idea is really I share your values, Simon, on this a lot, that I think we need to make more entrepreneurs and inspire them to really see the journey that is possible, and with these Amazon FBAs, what you see on TikTok and same with Shopify's as well, because I think there needs to be more entrepreneurs, and I just wanted to make them more digestible journey, so that it's doable. So that's the overarching vision. But are you
full time on this now, Ben?
Yeah. So
you are.
So I've got quite a bit of savings, so I'm really good for quite long, and I just want to progress with it and test it out. So
Ben Seward, what do you think of this? How are you validating what you're doing? How are you taking the leap into being full time yourself?
How am I validating my business?
Your business model, because like you said earlier, you're still part time, right? It's still a side hustle for you. So
I think for me I think the validation comes for me when it's kind of hands off, and I can earn an equal amount of money from my side job than I do from my day job, without actually having to do the work itself. It's more managing the work. So that for me, that's where the validation comes from. Is having a steady income that isn't related to my full-time job.
It's
I think that's where the freedom comes from.
I think it's a very practical and appropriate explanation of things, Ben. I would only say for myself personally that I've always found that the purpose of the business is the validation. Is the market? Does the market what I've got? And then actually, ironically, on the finance side, just my personal experience, again, everyone's got their own path, but if you jump out and do it, you will replace your old income. Sometimes doing it half and half, it means it's just a very slow process to that validation. But if you kind of left it and did it full time, Ben, you are doing it full time. I think it makes a huge difference, right? I mean, it's almost like I'm also having no choice but to make it work. The Vikings call it burning boats, right? It's like, okay, we're here now. We're in England. Let's conquer it because we don't have boats anymore to go back to our, Do you ever think about burning the boats, Ben Seward?
I'm sorry?
Do you think about burning the boats? Is this the quit on air now? We'll send them.
Definitely, it's definitely something I've thought about. I think for me, right, it's less about it's not necessarily just the financials. It's the freedom. So it's the freedom that I know that I have that security without, I'm not reliant on anybody other than myself. That's for me what it comes down to mostly. So for me, I made the conscious decision that I wanted to do it slowly, and I wanted to do this organically and make sure that it is sustainable for me for the long term.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I kind of admire both of you actually, but Ben and Stuart. Am I saying Stuart? Am I saying your surname right? People get my surname wrong all the time. Seward, thank you. So I'm dyslexic, so I always get names wrong. But yeah, I feel like, what if your colleagues are listening right now? Isn't it like, oh, Ben's going to leave us soon? He's just waiting for that.
Oh no, don't worry. I'm not going anywhere just yet.
Okay, good. Well, you can comfortably share the broadcast now without you. Oh no, they're going to think I'm quitting. But I actually have.
They know about the business. So
yeah, well, I was going to say the best employers recognize that we all have ambition. And I know a company I just invested in recently, the people that set it up were actually, their other investors were the people they used to work with.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so actually, if and I've employed lots of people in my time, and actually often the people that have gone and started their own company afterwards, I've supported them. It makes a lot of sense. I think letting people accepting that, but I also know a lot of employers that were like, you're doing something else, what are you doing something else for? You should be working for me day and night. So it's an interesting. Did Ben Ormas, did you quit your job? Did you just say, right, I've got savings, this is the thing I'm going to do, and quit, or how did you do it?
No. So like for me, it was more flexible. So I had like over the past 3 years, I had projects. So like as a contractor, I had projects for like 3 months, and then took a bit of time off, and then got a new project again. But now, it's again like that kind of period where I don't have a project, and I would rather just build something out, and because I always wanted to do this. Like in uni, I wanted to build a shoppable Instagram app, and then I saw Instagram has done it. That kind of pissed me off. So I was like, I really need to do something here. So yeah, like I've been trying to set up like Shopify stores, which were like kind of successful. That was good, but I think it's like another next leap where I'm like, I really need to do this. Like this is inevitable.
Did my validation answer or insight help you? What else do you need?
Yes, thank you. I think it's good. I think that's it. Like breaking it down to smaller pieces and seeing how it would give value to people. Because I heard Ben saying as well that it really comes down to value. If someone really sees that it can give them something, then I know that I'm onto something. So I just need to get there and find what is the way there. So yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I always like to kind of end these podcasts just by asking my guests if they want to shout out to the universe and anyone listening. What do you need? Whatever it is. So who wants to go first?
Ben?
Oh, okay, yeah. I'll go first. So what do I need?
Yes, what do you need?
I need more time.
More time. Why? Okay, buy time, don't sell time. That's the key to that one. But more time.
Oh, me.
Buy time, don't sell time. But time is a tough one for the universe to give you. That's a good question, though, Ben. I like that.
It is. Yeah. I think it's people definitely undervalue their time a lot of the time.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
Ben, number 2.
Yeah, good one. I'd say just the path, a clear path right now.
You mean a UX path? Exactly which way to go.
Yeah, exactly. So we can chat.
Sometimes with that, I think it can come from an internal feeling. You're clearly very smart, but I think there's sometimes the path. It's just making a decision. I just interviewed Nick Jenkins, who's the founder of Moonpig.com. He's a dragon on Dragon's Den season 13 and season 14. And one of the things he said I thought was amazing is that sometimes being an entrepreneur is just about making decisions.
Okay. It's just a gut feeling, just going for it and
not feeling and making a decision. If it's wrong, you know, you can change your mind later, but at least you kind of committed to one path. And so
makes sense.
I don't know why I want to relate everything back to UX design now and say, you know, I'm sure with UX, there's quite a few different ways you can build a site, right? And we'll have their pros and cons always. But you just pick one and you can do A/B testing, but just pick one and go for it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it always starts with your gut. Like, what does your gut say? What do you think? And then you go from there. I mean, you know, something is better than nothing. So for me, one thing that I see a lot is procrastination. And, you know, entrepreneurs, they want their website to be perfect. And it's just not a reality. It's never going to be perfect. So just doing something and testing it and seeing how it performs, and just tiny baby steps.
Well said. Yeah. Please don't look at my website. Please do not.
I already have.
It's good. It's good.
No.
I like it.
No, well, okay. I feel like there's something to be said there, Ben. What's I have already.
Oh no, I'm just playing around. It's great. Nice website.
Funny enough, I actually built the Purposeful Project website myself. No surprise, I'm sure.
Oh, really?
These days I'm cutting my own hair. You know, we can all do it ourselves these days. But I actually built it as a way of showing the designer what I wanted. Almost like a real life wireframe, and then at least the general content structures there, because sometimes that's half of it, isn't it? The actual content itself is still a large part of any portal. But anywho, do feel free to give me feedback off air, so you don't embarrass me on air.
Of course.
Good. Well, I'm gonna. Well, thank you both for coming on. Appreciate your stories and your share. And yeah, it's a pleasure to have you both here. I'm sorry about the dog in the background. Hopefully, this whole coronavirus thing will be behind us soon, and we can get back to just like meeting face to face and having normal chats instead of having to deal with technology and animals in the background. But thank you both for coming on today.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, guys.
I hope you enjoyed the podcast today. Just a quick one. Hopefully you got some insights. We will be live again tomorrow at 12:30. We have an incredible entrepreneur coming on who's going to be talking about how to look after your brain and how to make sure you look after the most important part of your body. And so, hopefully you can join 12:30 tomorrow. Goodluckpod.com. You can get the podcast on Spotify, on Apple Music, of course, wherever you're listening to it right now, you can get it here too. So thanks so much for listening. If you have any questions about UX design for Sam, please, for Ben, sorry, I'm losing my mind today. For Ben, please feel free to click through to the links below and ask him. If you're interested in Dots Connect, please also feel free to click through the other Ben's website and content. Both of my guests today have given up their time to share their insights and thoughts with you. I hope you found it useful. Just clicking on their social media and giving them a like would also mean a lot. It doesn't cost anything. So thanks very much for listening and have a wonderful day.